And that's when we start a show.
Hello, everyone, and hello, Scott. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth.
Pleasure to be here. Glad you have the courage to continue to do this, Perry. It's always about free will. This work is for the benefit of, let's put it this way. I do this as part from my part with vast numbers of beings not from Earth that are really out there, that just because people on Earth are kept in the dark about it, one classified system that won't tell them yet openly what they should be doing already. I work with beings to head off people destroying this world, which is where the political leaders and religious leaders are heading it. They think it's a way to spiritual freedom or some heaven. Blow everybody up and then we go to heaven. No, that will never happen. You can't have an Armageddon and go to heaven. No, that's all wrong. Not going to happen ever. People, when they're killed suddenly, die in fear that they brought here from other lives. They die in how they're afraid of who they are or what they are when the body ceases to function. And they take that fear with them. Not the money, not the fame, not the Academy Awards, not the billions of dollars, not the gold, not the bodies, nothing except their state of awareness when they leave this body. And it's that goes out and tells this omnipresent living force out there what to do with them, to incarnate them in another body with no memory, if that's what they think makes them feel safe. There is no security in being unconscious in a body on Earth, not knowing you're not the body. There's no security in that whatsoever. And it doesn't go away just because the body dies. We still have a responsibility to master the lower worlds of time and space, to master negative natures and not indulge in them, deliberately of free will. And this is very important because if a person wants to have what you would call freedom in the universe, to explore it, to play in it, they have to be able to respect what is out there. And then most importantly, they have to be able to respect the one energy, the one power. It is non-nuclear, non-atomic, not electrons and protons and atoms, that this one energy supports all that stuff that's like that floats in it, including human bodies. Planets and galaxies and all that are literally floating in another ether. Now on Earth, advanced scientists will call it 0 point or toroidal energy. The energy of the universe is not nuclear. It is not. It's not the power coming from all those suns. That's not the source energy. If people are looking to find source energy in the black hole of a galaxy, they're going to miss it completely. It's not there. It's in that black energy around all those galaxies that supports them. And that moves up through the dimensions, all through the multiverse. And it is a living, conscious, one energy, one power. And we're going to have to learn how to live with that energy outside this atmosphere of this planet if we want to be allowed to play in the universe with others who know how to play nicely. Let's put it that way. Starlight, come here. Don't just talk about it. Come and join us. We're on a radio. Come here. Come on. You want to be on the show?
He's back.
Then say hi to everybody because it'll go up on YouTube. He's very calm.
Hi, Starlight.
This little guy leaves his body and travels with me all the time, and he's not human. He's running a cat body, but doesn't mean he's stupid. He knows how to get out of his body easier than most people do on Earth. So why don't you join us over there? Okay. All right. So people will say, why don't you lock that cat out of the room? He's interrupting things. No, he's not. He's adding to the constructive purpose for the show in his own way. And I happen to know it.
Yeah, maybe we should say to Scott, like every time when we go on the journey, Starlight's always ready, to join us, every time.
And he announces his presence in no uncertain terms, quite loudly. And then when he's ready, he'll lay down, he'll go out of his body and join us on the journey. He does for every journey. He's
And
quite,
he knows when it's time he will be here.
yeah, because he came up here because we started the show, right? And it can
Yes.
be annoying. And if I react to it in an annoying way, then I'm just limiting the potential of the show. I don't want to do that. People have a lot of attitudes about animals on Earth that are all wrong, quite backward, really. And I'm not going to get into that in this show. It's not my place to tell people how to eat or not eat, but most people on Earth know the way they're living is not making them feel good. There's a reason for that. It has to do with the one energy trying to teach them to live better. And you can't escape it. You can't hide your head like an ostrich in the hole in the sand and pretend the meteor is not coming to hit you in the rear end. You see what I mean? Because it will anyway. So the one energy out there in space that appears black in photographs, time-lapse photographs taken by the Hubble telescope or advanced radio telescopes on Earth, optical telescopes, satellites with cameras on them, that energy out there appears black to people on Earth because human eyes on Earth can only see a very small band of frequency, and then they can't see beyond that. People don't see infrared, ultraviolet, and X-rays through their physical eyes, but they're there in higher frequencies. So the energy out in space to a being who's not in their body, the body's asleep at night when they're asleep, the body's asleep, and they're out here in space with kind beings. When they look at it as their spherical nature, their true nature is an Atma or soul, it appears to be white golden light, just packed in all that black area, all around all the things that float in it, in between the galaxies, vast beyond imagination. And then it moves up through the different dimensions. It's one energy. And it's able to function on different frequency levels. We call it frequency, but when we're calling it frequency, we're referring to time, space, and molecules and atoms. You know, frequency has to do with the energy put out by the hue, by the first sound, by the one energy. And it can divide itself into different levels and create whole divisions. And then matter is made in those divisions of a finer molecular time rate in time space. And it's moved up in this way. So we have a multiverse, many parallel dimensions in the physical universe before you even get to what people call the astral plane. And that's another major division above the physical. Just as physical there as physicality on Earth is, but of a finer matter. And people's abilities there in general, depending on which parallel dimension they live in, can be more advanced than life on Earth. Human type forms there that are physical, that beings run, the Atma, the sphericalist, will run a body that can conduct higher faculties of awareness through it than most people on Earth can physically, through the brain and body they grew up with. So they can do more things, live longer lives, and things like this. But out in space beyond Earth, there are countless numbers of world systems in our galaxy where people live vastly longer than people on Earth who are human. Why? Do they? Yes. Why do they? What is it that prevents, I don't want to say that, what is it that determines among the races out among the stars why they have not openly landed here? That has to do with the choice of governments dealing with them on Earth, not the mass of people. People are conditioned to live lives based in fear, manipulated by tyrant kings in the past and now by political leaders today and religious leaders to keep the status quo like it is because they're afraid of change. The nature of the universe is change. There's an energy that moves through all creation, through the physical universe, between the earth and the moon and the sun and the stars, that they all float in this one energy. And we need to deal with that energy in a respectful way in order to co-create with it this power source, which is it, not us. It is the one power. If we want to fly across the galaxy in faster than light type devices, through whatever technology, through wormholes, whatever they call it, or parallel dimensions or doorways between realities, then we have to know how to work with an energy that is not nuclear. It is energy, but not as it's understood on Earth, very much yet at all. More advanced races out there don't land on Earth because Earth people are so conditioned to make decisions based on subconscious fear. They panic at the slightest sight of change. Oh, there's COVID. Let's hoard all the toilet paper and paper towels. Let's make a shortage that did not exist. And that's exactly what they did. Panicked. And if that was allowed to continue, people on Earth would panic and create shortages until they were all dead. Trucking, busing, trains, ships, all would break down. And then there wouldn't be any life here, just from panicky, fear-driven people. So you have a timing to this disclosure that has to coincide with what we call the 100th monkey theory. It's kind of like you get a certain number of people on Earth awake enough to remember they're not a physical body and never have been. And then you're going to see an energy sweep through this planet, carried by people from other worlds, and they'll come here and help change this place when people are ready to be respectful and to respectfully receive it and not panic, including leaders. The change that's being worked on now happens to deal with political leaders, religious leaders, and all the massive people simultaneously. Because that's the only way you can bring about a full disclosure without destruction and creating shortages that don't exist by panicky people. That's largely what's delaying this, for the benefit of people. We've said this before, but if we weren't alone in the universe and there weren't other more advanced races, many of them human, outside of this planet, we would not be alive now in this world. Because the leaders, in their ignorance and in their blank stupidity, without thinking, decided it was cool to set off thermonuclear explosions in our own atmosphere and radiate the planet. How insane is that? You want to know why UFOs started showing up here after World War II? Because people on Earth were blowing up nuclear bombs in our own atmosphere just to test them. Not in space, in our own atmosphere. And those radioactive particles went through the jet stream and circulated the planet. They're even in the deep well waters of the Himalaya. And if you think we don't have to pay a price for that misuse, think again, because that's where a lot of these things come from. We have to deal with now. Mutating viruses from what? What's mutating them? What's the first life to mutate from radioactive toxins? Microscopic life. Humans are much more resilient, but it'll kill them too. Cancer went through the roof around the world after World War II when they started setting off nuclear bombs in the atmosphere. It's all classified. They're not going to tell people they understood what stupidities. They understood what they were doing that would harm life. They did it anyway just to compete with other countries, each other. Then the Nazi scientists were brought into Russia, United States, and pardoned. SS officers, worshippers of Hitler, and put in charge of our rocketry programs because they were more advanced. And then that kind of influence came into our country and into Russia as well. And the same competition that was going on with Hitler continued in both countries afterward. They didn't even see it coming. CIA didn't see it coming back then. Had no idea what they were doing. They thought they did, but they didn't. In fact, World War II went the way it did, not because only of the militaries on this planet, because there were some assistance being provided from races outside this world to keep this place from self-annihilating. And during the Cold War, which was with the former Soviet Union and the United States, China was also involved, but to a lesser degree. During that time, we know, and certainly beings from other worlds know and have recorded it, and everybody involved in it, that they tried to set off a nuclear war at least 12 different times. It's classified. And it was shut down. Launch computers were shut down from space, from craft not native to here. They didn't come here and take over governments or raid the planet and land and dominate everybody. They just prevented that one thing. And it wasn't because our people on Earth were smart enough not to attempt it, because they did. And these are the kind of people you would ask to save this world, somehow make better decisions. But look at the condition of the planet. Leaders on this planet and the mass of people in general are still making decisions based on subconscious fear. They don't even know they have. And when people make decisions based on that, it's always incorrect because it's negative. Negative emotion motivates and inspires negative imagination. Negative imagination goes out into this one energy that everything's supported by and tells it what to create for you. It's a co-creator with us. And so what happens is we end up with these repetitive cycles of energy and action on Earth. Trillions of dollars spent to try to placate what they did before that was negative. And then that doesn't work, so they spend more money to try to placate that. This thinking is all wrong. You cannot train people to launch shoulder rock Stinger missiles. You cannot train people to build bombs, to do espionage against the Soviet Union's occupation of Afghanistan, and not have it come back and bite you in the rear end later, which is what it did. They became terrorists. There is a cause and effect in all of this. People on Earth created. And the influences that motivated that were not native to this planet either. The predominant nature of races beyond Earth are constructive, evolved, technologically advanced, and generally designed to be of benefit to all the world systems that are part of an organization for the benefit of all life. That's the predominant nature of life out there. There are a few tyrant spacefaring races out there that had influence on this planet, particularly through the German scientists during World War II, illegally, considering an off-world treaty amongst races. And that had influence here, good and bad. Today, in 2021, there has not been a nuclear war on this planet, but that's not because of what people chose to do on this planet. I try to make this clear for the benefit of all people on this world. And certain people that are very highly classified have been told by beings from other worlds that they have to disclose the truth to people here if they ever want to come out and play in the universe. Period. No way around it. None. Which means no matter how much reverse engineering technology or antigravitic propulsion systems people might find, develop, or have given to them here, there's still a quarantine solar system we live in for good reason. And that's to protect us from tyrants coming back to this Earth secretly and in labs and underground that have been moved away from this planet and not by us. And to give us an opportunity to make collective change in a way with help so that the change into full disclosure is non-destructive. No rioting in the streets, no hoarding of toilet paper and all that stuff. In the United States, there's a pipeline on the East Coast that had a cyber attack, they call it. There wasn't a shortage, but people panicked and bought gas, created a shortage. But it was fixed within a few days. All they did was reboot computers, wipe out the virus, and everything was fine. But people panic. They hoard. That's all fear. And then when they're done hoarding stuff and it doesn't turn out like they thought it would because of their hoarding, then they've hoarded all this stuff, and for what reason? Just fear. So when you're dealing with public on a planetary scale and you're a government, or a religion, or you're both, you have to think in terms of what you can disclose that won't cause people to panic, right? So I don't want to say I sympathize, but I can understand why disclosure has been put off for so long in this world. When I say disclosure, I mean the full and complete disclosure of the understanding some people have on this planet that are running things about extraterrestrial life, its capabilities, good, the bad, whatever's out there. There is no war taking place out among the stars with reptilians and other things, like some people are putting out on this world. If that were true, they'd all be dead. Because these guys don't regard human beings as worthy of regard. So understand this. This world is not going to be attacked by outer space people and all the cities bombed to oblivion like you see in movies. But it isn't because of people on Earth that doesn't happen. It's because of people beyond Earth that police that regulate that have kept that from happening. The more people on Earth know this, the more, I would say, the more confident they'll be in trusting other more evolved races to help us get through this critical time of self-annihilation or playing among the stars. That's where we're at right now today on this planet. At a critical point of the top of a pyramid. Step one way, you're great. Step the other, bye-bye life on Earth. If we were alone in this universe, the people on Earth would have already made decisions based on fear that would have annihilated everything on this world. It's already an irradiated planet. That's a given. It's done. Several hundred nuclear and hydrogen bombs were set off on this world in the atmosphere before they banned them, because they realized they're going to kill off all life here without a nuclear war if they keep doing that. Governments have set themselves up not to be sued or prosecuted for the vile things they've done based on subconscious fear. I don't blame them in a way. They grew up on a planet with subconscious drives that motivate them to imagine in fearful ways, and then they make decisions on a planetary scale based on fear. Cannot turn out correctly that way. It comes under the one of the principal laws of physics. Every action creates an equal but opposite reaction in space-time. And this means what you imagine goes out as a frequency measurable on an oscilloscope. Call it a brainwave. It affects the molecules of things around us, and then the universe mirrors it back to us. It's a teacher. And it can be a very challenging teacher indeed. So I have to say again that the reason life still exists on this planet, despite what people have done here, is because of the influence of kind people, not from Earth, who are at least intervening enough on this planet to keep us from annihilating ourselves. That's it. They don't, as far as I know, the beings I know from other worlds have no interest in running the governments on this planet. Furthest thing from their consciousness. But they are interested in getting the leaders of this planet and the people to stop behaving like spoiled, rotten little brats as grown-ups, wanting and demanding their own way and refusing to change out of fear. They want us to get control of ourselves, make decisions not based on fear and subconscious drives, and begin to run the world properly. One government, not New World Order, one kind of benevolent government that can represent all the people of Earth in dealing with the races out there that work this way. We're not going to be able to go out and play in rocket ships among the stars or in anti-gravitic reverse engineered ships and be allowed to go out there among the stars carrying the kind of nonsense that people have, that they represent on Earth as political, religious, and other leaders. It's not going to happen, ever. Because those races put that stuff away a long time ago. And they're not going to tolerate us coming out there and throwing all that crap up on them. Go and plant an American flag or a Russian or Chinese flag on other people's territory and mine the resources? No. Space is already occupied. If we want to share in that and share in their technology and their higher awareness of life that isn't physical bodies, then we have to respect that. There is no shortcut for this, none whatsoever. People on earth are going to find this out on their own by their own experience, so don't take my word for it. This is what's really going on out there. This solar system we live in is quarantined. It's to protect us from people coming back here, abduct people and all that kind of thing that stopped more than 20 years ago. Doesn't take place anymore. People don't know this yet on Earth. They don't understand that this was stopped some time ago. And not by us on Earth either, by the way. So we get given all these little gifts along the way to help us head in the right direction. But not by us. Human beings did not evolve on this planet. Now, if that's true, which it is, then where did they evolve? What is our kindred nature as different races on this planet with humans that live out among the stars? What is our kindred nature with other bipedal races that aren't even human, that are advanced in kind, that fly the galaxies? They're out there. Are you kidding? People are so closed down in fear, they wonder if there's life on other planets. You can't get any lower in suppressed consciousness than to live in a body on Earth and think you're a body and you can't remember anything. The only way for people on Earth from where they are now is up. Doesn't get any lower. So the only way we can really go is either destroy ourselves or step out and take our responsibility in a kind way with beings from other worlds. This is important. It's not going to go away now or anytime ever. So I say this before we go on one of these beyond the physical body journeys on this radio show. I say it so that people have at least the opportunity of hearing it. Because when I speak these words, I'm being telepathic. I'm not just blabbing stuff from my vocal cords. The nature of a normal human being is telepathic. This means that although we speak, and people on Earth have been long closed down from using higher faculties through the body and brain, they're running as a being. And what they are that's running it is not a body or a brain. Never was, never will be. It is energy, but not physical matter, as people understand it. So, you have a question, Perry?
I don't, but I like to say I do what I do here with you because I have learned a lot from you. And it is only way, it is only way to return home. I can guarantee from my experience, I can confirm that, for everyone who listens to our show.
Of course, when we're talking about going home, we're not talking about going home on Earth.
Yeah, back to the source.
Okay, let's look at a couple of things for the people who might find this recorded radio show somewhere on the internet, on Awaken Hidden Truth on your radio show. And they play this back later and they try to do what we're doing, listen to what I'm saying, close their eyes, put their body to sleep, and stay alert and go on these journeys. Everybody on Earth is capable of this, but they have not been brought up from childhood to understand that it's real or how to work it or how to be confident with it. They have nothing but fear about getting out of their body. They do it every night and don't remember where they go or what they do. And they come back to that body and get it up, because when it's asleep and you're gone, there's nobody home. The body's run on automatic and everybody does it. Can you imagine how insane it is for people to be doing this, not know it, and then just make wrong decisions about everything on Earth as political leaders all the time, in every way, opposite of what they should be doing together? That's a form of insanity, isn't it? Massive.
There are people here on Earth got controlled by fear, so we have to try to control or get rid of fears,
Now, how do you do that? That's an easy thing to say. I only know of one way to turn off subconscious drives that are destructive or negative. I only know of one thing that works because it was set up in the universe to work this way. billions upon billions of years ago. A failed state. The first half of the word human being is hu. It creates a round whole tone that triggers something in the pineal gland in the center of the human brain. It opens a door between the Atma, which is spherical, the real you or soul, that is usually outside or beyond the body, running it from a distance. The Atma, which we really are, is not made of molecules, protons, or electrons, or atoms. It cannot be destroyed by nuclear war, beam weapons, any kind of technology you can think of. Bodies can be, but the Atma cannot be. When people on Earth begin to realize, as they should, that long ago they once knew they weren't a body or a brain, this world will transform right in front of everybody's eyes. And it's destined now to do this. Disclosure isn't an option anymore. It's mandatory for our own benefit if we want to play among the stars and we want to play with those beings. We want cures for cancer and, take the telomeres on the end of the genomes of the DNA, and instead of them shrinking every time cells duplicate, they don't shrink anymore. No more aging. You leave a body when you want to go try a different one. It doesn't grow old and die. It's a simple switch. And higher science about genomes and DNA is that each genome is a switch. If you know the sound frequencies to control those switches, you can turn them off or on. Tyrants who've abused this technology turned them off on the people on Earth and had them passed on generation after generation. So when the beings are compelled to get in a body here or incarnate, they come here with no ability to remember anything, where they came from before this life.
Scott, any scientists on Earth that have found the frequency to turn on this genome yet?
It's classified. It's not for the public yet, but it could be. And they're still in the baby stages of understanding that science. But I can tell you there are human races out there that know it from end to end. And they would not hoard it over us or keep it from us unless they know we would abuse it, which has already been done here. So we have to grow up enough to accept our responsibility in the multiverse and in creation to use our gifts of life, running human bodies, politics, and religion in a way that will benefit all life. This is, no one's ever going to get around this, ever. The universe beyond Earth is largely set up this way. And we are one little planet that has to play amongst the big boys, amongst so many other races. If we want to play out there, this is the place we have to leap into. And we're going to need massive help from beings from other worlds to pull this off, or this world will not make it. Not the way people are heading it right now. Is it a sane thing for people in politics and competing governments to burn down all the equatorial rainforests on this planet, which filter out the carbon dioxide we breathe? The oceans produce 70% of the oxygen, but if you destroy that plant life, just polluting things, eating animals, and doing everything unconsciously, there won't be life on this planet because we'll all suffocate. You can have all the oxygen in the universe coming to you here, but if you can't filter out the carbon dioxide, you're choked to death. You kill off certain phytoplankton and other life in the oceans that make that oxygen, goodbye humanity. Sayonara, see you later. You're done. You don't need nuclear war for that. And that's what global warming is part of. The fact that we continue unconsciously and unthoughtfully pollute our own environment to satisfy temporal lust for things that you can't even take with you and can't keep past one simple lifetime, that is a form of mass insanity. And it's because of what was done to people long ago in galactic history before they were brought to this planet. That's right, nobody evolved here, they were brought here. Every race that's represented on Earth today, Japanese, African American, Caucasian, Asian, of any form, Aboriginal, people in the jungles, small people down in the jungles of the Amazon, they were all brought here to this planet by extraterrestrials at one time or another to do the dirty work, the mining, and often left behind. No one race has ever dominated this world, good or bad. It's under treaty. And I don't mean an earth treaty. So Earth was a great place to have classified, extraterrestrial classified laboratories hidden in other parallel dimensions in higher frequencies so that they could do research here without being seen or detected. And I'm saying to you that this has been going on for ages because Earth's poles would flip. Very unusual planet. They would flip overnight every 100,000 years. The classified community knows this for a fact and they buried it. They were afraid of what the people would do on Earth if they knew. They don't even know particularly what causes it, but they know it happens cyclically, or it did until recently. We're overdue for that polar flip, and it's not going to happen. There are beings out in the universe that run the mechanics of creation who went through a change of consciousness who have permanently ended that on this planet. So this golden age to iron age and back again that's been going on for so long here has ended. The people are left with subconscious fear-based programs and they don't remember who they are, how they got to be on this planet. So they make up stuff like it was a contract with God. Told me to come here. An archangel told me to come here. Dumber than a brick. Forget everything I ever knew in order to get spirituality right. What? You have all those faculties cut off from all the wisdom you've ever learned in countless lives, and now you're expected to get it right. All you do is make more mistakes. And that's what everybody's doing on this planet. So the first thing people here need to do is recover who and what they are that is not now nor has ever been a physical body. Not their brain, not the one life and brain they grew up in this one lifetime, which learned none of this, has none of it in it. No past life programming, nothing. When that comes through a brain and body in this life, it's because it's coming through for some reason from the Atma, the spherical being we are, and it's slipping through into this consciousness.
Scott, and there are so many information out there and people are searching for the truth. How can they know which one they can trust, you know?
It's very easy. But I don't say it's easy to apply because people are driven by subconscious fear, artificially created implanted programs. The Atma is designed, okay, the Atma, what it is spherical. Planets, moons, and suns and stars that make up galaxies are round. They are made in the image of their creators. They are made in the image of the creator. That's what we really are, because a brain does not run itself on automatic. A body doesn't get born out of a woman and take its first breath, and the brain just runs everything on automatic, like an ever-ready battery that just doesn't run down until 80 years later. No. A human body is an evolved genetic entity type of thing that's designed to have the being run higher faculties of awareness through it when it's properly conditioned and properly trained. People on Earth aren't trained this way at all from birth to adulthood. Not the leaders, not the religious leaders, nobody. It's that shut down. So that's the first thing that has to be corrected here. Somehow people need to come into a higher vibration of energy that's pouring through this planet now. Get tuned in with it, and then begin to remember what they were made to forget long ago without their permission or consent. There is a source behind all life, but it's way beyond the physical worlds. And it's in higher realities beyond what certain esoteric groups on Earth call the void. And they think that's the end all and be all of the supreme being, and there's nothing beyond it. Nothing could be further from the truth. There are vast realms beyond that. And they don't work like positive and negative streams do in the lower worlds of time and space. And we all came from those upper realities as the spherical being, long ago forgotten in galactic and interdimensional history. Even in solar system history in this planet's Earth and its solar system. I say this to people because it has to be said to this way. Somebody has to say it to them, or it won't trigger them to remember that they once knew it. It's buried in fear. Fear of remembering when you were killed by an alien somewhere out there. It's forced to be on Earth in a body and told to forget, or else they'll do it to you again. That's a basic fear in most people. The fear of leaving their body, because if they did that, they would remember who they are. So don't do that because demons will get you. Well, I must point out that demons already got them. That's why they're on Earth, where they can't remember anything. What's underway out among the stars, amongst races now, is designed to not only fix this on Earth, but all the worlds out there where tyrants have had influence. So they're being quarantined and changed. Earth is in the path of a new energy sweeping through this galaxy. It didn't originate in the physical universe. And no, there's nobody on Earth that's going to say, no, we don't want that. You can't bring it. We're going to lie to people. We're never going to tell them the truth anymore. They can't handle the truth. That's nonsense. It has to be done in a way which takes the expertise of many other races who have been through this hundreds of millions of years ago, even, to help us through it. Consider that there are worlds out there that were like Earth that almost destroyed themselves, and somebody steps in at the last second, not to control governments, but to help people make this transition, to set them free from subconscious influences that make them imagine negative things they don't even know they have. And yet everybody on Earth knows there's something wrong with this planet. The human life here is not operating correctly. Animal and plant life isn't either. And they think it all evolved on this one planet. They think Japanese and African American Caucasians all just sprouted out of the ground with different skin and different textures in one atmosphere on one planet, third planet from the sun with the same gravitational influence. That's not possible. Not technically, scientifically, or any other way. The races that are on Earth evolved the differences in human nature and DNA on other worlds, and they intermarried. You can intermarry with an Oceanian, which is a beautiful human being with pale blue skin, green eyes, jet black hair, and they can breathe underwater or on land. And they're out there in our galaxy. And the genetics is so similar, you could still intermarry with them. Not that they would want to, with anybody on Earth, but you could. There are races out there that travel to stars that are not human, but they still have the same basic genetic coding of the Say-Rays human race. Because the Say-Rays, billions of years ago, several billion years ago, began to seed life further back than that in the physical galaxies and in the astral plane, the next division up. And they were able to move and craft between them. The only race I know of that could do that. And they went into the background long ago after they developed people so that Atma could run human bodies and brains and travel to stars. And then they vanished to see what we would do with it. It was an experiment. So we have human and humanoid and other races, reptilian and grays and tall whites and Nordics and all these names people have come up with on Earth, and thousands more they've never even heard of yet, that already travel the stars in harmony together. And Earth thinks it's going to take its little rocket ships and its little deception and dishonesty and all of its little religious hatred and bigotry and take it out there with its nuclear weapons and go out there and play amongst those races and get resources. No, we're not. It's time for people on Earth to grow up. It's time for adults to start stop acting like spoiled children and be responsible for what they do with their imagination for a change. I'm the same way. The beings that I work with that are not from Earth are the same way. People on Earth can be the same way if they really want to change. If they want to go up in a big explosion and go to heaven, and the elite chosen are all going to go to heaven because they blew up their planet, think about this. What kind of a God would you want to follow that thinks that's cool? And you're to be rewarded for it. It makes no sense, does it? How can we play among the stars and in other dimensions with the source behind all life behaving like that? Never going to happen. People that have faith in certain things and continue to be the way they are on this earth and then die think they're going to go to some permanent heaven, but in the end, they're recycled back here or other planet with no memory because they're not really ready to be responsible and respectful of a life that exists out in the greater God, the great universes, the multidimension, where it exists. Until we can come to respect that and the one energy that supports it all, we're not going to advance very much further than we are now. So this is why I say that we are going to have to collectively accept the kind guidance and scientific expertise and advancements of other races from the stars that are willing to provide this to us at no cost. They don't use money. They don't care about money on Earth. It means nothing to them. You can't pay them in US dollars to get their technology. This is never going to happen. There's no exchange rate for it. I'm trying to make this clear about the way it really is out there. If you want to go to other tyrant worlds, the few of them that are out there, you can deal with money because they'll use it. But the more advanced races have outlawed it because they know people can control their people with it, brainwash them with it. That's what's happened on Earth. The idea of royalty, kings and queens and money did not get invented on this planet. It was imported to this world long ago, in a history people don't even know ever existed here, way before recorded history as they're taught in schools here. People have heard things about things like Lemuria or Mu and Atlantis and these ancient cultures that sunk or were destroyed overnight. Well, the thing of it is, the people that live here today were there. Okay, so that means that there was once a planet between Mars and Jupiter that was blown up with a single experimental device. Some millions of years ago, a long time ago anyway. And 3 basic races that lived there were all destroyed in a single moment in fear. They had to come somewhere to seek bodies and try to live again. So they came to Earth. And they're still here. And so are beings from all over the universe who were often put here, captured when they were sneaking. Some tyrants were sneaking around out there when they couldn't be caught by superior forces, and just in a sadistic manner would trap and put people on Earth, kill their body, and stuff them into a compulsive reincarnation pattern on this planet. And that is all reversible. People can have these subconscious fears neutralized if they'll cooperate co-creatively in the process. It is a matter of real free will, awakened free will. The people on Earth aren't really awakened in this way yet. They can be. So if you are a being that has never been a brain or body and you are energy that cannot be destroyed, part of the source energy itself made exactly out of the same energy, then how old are you?
Very old.
So if we are something that was never physical and we exist as beings outside of time and space observing it, then we existed before the worlds of time and space were made. We are meant to be co-creators with that source. We're not meant to worship it. We're meant to respect it and each other. And we're never going to get to play out there with that source and all these planes and all these planets and all these people until we become aware of them again and can respect them. And then they'll help us in every way we wish, because then we can be trusted with what they can do. It's just this simple. All right, so I will say these things in the way that I say them because somebody has to, and nobody's doing it on this planet in this way. And yet everyone's capable of knowing or plugging into with training and experience what I know. Everyone on this earth. But the first thing that has to go is there's terrorizing subconscious fear they carry around their whole life. Fear of nuclear war is just a surface fear of something much deeper. Fear that something can happen to you again that happened to you in another life in another world that put you here. People don't want to remember that. I don't blame them. But that's just an experience that should be nothing more than a memory, so that all of the higher faculties that are suppressed below that fear can resurface in people. That's planet Earth for you. The horns go off in their cars just because a truck drives by, and this people are so silly, afraid of getting their car stolen, so these horns go off all the time. It's typical of this planet. The energy that's used now in this world, the greed that powers it, cannot continue, or the greedy people won't be alive either. Because energy that is used that pollutes the environment will eventually destroy the life on the earth. It was used at one time, but there are better sources of energy. And that's already developed, already here. It's still classified, most of it. So it's just a matter of people living in habit in ways that are reckless and destructive, and they're afraid to change. And yet they're going to be compelled to change, because we don't have that choice. We do not have the free will on this planet as 7 billion people to blow this place up and negatively affect hundreds of billions of people in other worlds and other dimensions, other parallel dimensions that are accessed through interdimensional doorways most people on this earth don't even know exist, under the water, on the surface, or above volcanoes, or in the atmosphere of this world, and where they connect to. Set up in the beginning. These doorways between dimensions were there at the beginning. We didn't make them down here on Earth, but advanced races know how to go through them. Very important that we understand this. So they use an energy, they use the zero-point or toroidal energy, the energy of the universe, to develop antigravitic type propulsion systems that can channel this energy through their device, get them from here to there, way beyond the speed of light. And they don't use energy or pollute anything. This idea of needing to use man-made radioactive imbalanced isotopes to power spacecraft is absurd. They're unbalanced, they're dangerous, they're deadly. And there's no constructive use that I can see for any radioactive isotope that's man-made. They're only good for blowing things up or killing people. It's not a good source of energy. And there are the energy of the universe itself that's out there in the void of space should be the energy we utilize for all things, because the right way to use it doesn't pollute anything. If we want to understand how that works and have it given to people here, then we're going to have to play ball with what's out there. And that has to do with the kind races. I'm not talking about tyrants or anything like that. Consider this. Human beings never evolved on Earth in the first place. There is no missing bone or link other than theory that connects Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal to any of us. They were separate, humanoid type race that went extinct. No, we didn't come from monkeys either. We didn't come from this Earth, which means everyone on Earth is really extraterrestrial in origin, doesn't it? So why would it be so odd for people on Earth, when they understand this, to embrace and be friends with people from other worlds? We come from them anyway. The Say rays, the one being that I know well, I don't know about knowing well, but he's a dear friend, a trusted friend, is Ambassador Turellian. He is of the Say rays human race, far older than the races in this galaxy. not known in UFO and disclosure circles much yet at all. Far more important. Beings like him and some others sponsored the creation of what's called the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. It has a world governing council near the center of the Milky Way galaxy, not in the center, near it. Now we're going to have to come into a harmonious relationship with such races, aren't we, if we're going to play out there? There's no other way around it. There just isn't. So if people want to go out and explore space, this attitude, this theoretical nonsense that we might be alone in the universe and go out and plant US flags and Earth flags on other people's property is pretty absurd. Because it's not going to happen. Those races aren't going to tolerate us doing that. Would you if you were in their shoes? No, you wouldn't. When we go on these journeys, I work with something that exists in the primordial energy between all things that float in it, out there in the void of space. It's really could be called divine spirit. It is a living one energy field that comes from the source many dimensions up right through everything that floats in it in space. In a way, we are responsible for the condition of life on this planet. In a way, we're responsible for not remembering things. We're responsible because we as Atmas, not the body or brain in this lifetime that we run, was there at the beginning. If we don't like the way the experiment of good and evil has turned out, bitching about it will not change a thing. It means as long as we're throwing stones at all the wrong other terminals to blame it for our condition in life, we're going to be trapped incarnating in bodies and not remembering things. Because ultimately we're responsible. If we want to become co-creators with the source and wake up, then we have to accept our responsibility in this, our individual part, so that we can be trusted to be given or to be helped to recover. That's as simple as it is. We are not being denied cures for cancer or space travel or interdimensional travel or the ability to leave our body at will while we're alive. We are denying that to ourselves through fear of the unknown and subconscious drives that continually compel us to imagine negative outcomes for the present and the future. And therein lies the secret as to why the world is like it is right now. And I will be right back in one moment. So we're back. Hi, Perry. Yeah, I see you there. You've got your mic off. She turns her mic off at this point for one reason, because we get better recording quality on Zoom this way. Because I record it on my end, and then I'll send this through Dropbox to her, and Perry can put it up on her YouTube channel. This is how we do these. That one energy field out there that people have coined zero-point or toroidal energy, the energy of the universe, is a living energy. It isn't an individual being like we are. It is source energy, the one power, the one energy that manifests all things we imagine. We do not do that. Individuals do not have personal power to manifest what they imagine. We are meant to be co-creators with that source energy so that it brings into manifestation what we imagine. We're meant to be responsible and enlightened and utilizing our imaginative capabilities, which come from the Atma, not the brain or body, to bring into reality those things which will be only of an uplifting benefit to all life, not just life on Earth, mind you, the whole multiverse where God is. Mostly, Earth is one little planet, and this energy presence moves through every single thing on Earth, every molecule is behind it. They coined the phrase God particle in the Large Hadron CERN super collider in Switzerland. They found out that there's an energy behind all matter that's smaller than it, and that it doesn't respond or characteristically respond like the laws of physics. They know what to do with it. They know it's there. So they call it the God particle. And it is packed in the void of space beyond the atmosphere of this planet. We have the ability as beings to connect into it, not as the brain or body. That has to be put into a trance state we call sleep. And all of the fears and subconscious implants and all that can be turned off while we're working with the hue, because it does this so we can advance. This one sound is really known in more esoteric circles as the first word, which is not a written word at all. It's a way of connecting into that void in space and then up through the planes right to the source where we come from. It's done telepathically. This is a pure form of communication between the white core of your being that's spherical and the source itself. We do this because the energy that makes up each one of us is the same as the energy of the source, identical. And we can connect through this energy that is non-physical, non-nuclear, non-atomic, not relative to the limits of time and space, cause and effect, gravity, or the speed of light, which really has no limits, actually. Physical eyes can detect 286,000 miles per second, but that's still only looking at it with physical eyes, which are limited. So they wrongly conclude that there's a limit to the speed of light. There isn't. And so they don't advance scientifically because of that self-imposed limitation, their lack of understanding. Quantum physicists are probably closer to the reality of understanding this. When I go into the hue, the first half of the word human hidden in plain sight, and it should be mentioned that languages as they are on Earth did not develop here. They were brought here and evolved their differences over time after they were brought here. They didn't originate here. Which means if you want to find the missing link of how people came to exist and how these bodies got to be this highly evolved, you will not find that answer on planet Earth ever, because it isn't on planet Earth. When I go into the hue, I begin to send out certain tones, and I raise the tone because, first of all, this is a way that as I begin to guide these little sessions, beings, friends of mine, do this with me. Now, I don't do it alone. And they begin to help shut down subconscious fears of the unknown, artificially created, implanted subconscious programs. And the body begins to go to sleep, just like you put it to sleep every night anyway. And every night when you put that body to sleep, you leave that body and go out and learn. But because Earth is the way it is, you learn nothing about how to bring that awareness back or how to download it into a brain and body when you wake it up that doesn't have it. Not there. So this takes some understanding, some discipline, and a new understanding of how to use the creative imagination properly. So when I send out the you, it helps you put your body to sleep like you're an expert at doing every night anyway. And then as you listen to my voice, you begin to move above that body. We use what's called daydreaming. Everyone knows how to do that. The creative imagination is not something that is done in the brain of a human being, ever. The spherical being, you, running that brain and body, because it doesn't run itself, is what imagines in the universe. And imagination in that sense means you actually plug into the one force behind everything, plug into that wisdom pool, look at other worlds or other realities, and then know stuff. Had to deal with a cat. That's part of my life's excursion. Perfectly okay. I'll begin those tones, but I ask you all to first imagine someone or something, person, place, or thing that you respect and you're grateful they're in your life. Whatever it is that makes you kind of glow inside when you first imagine it. You're going to be working with creative imagination, and the best way to do this is to simply daydream, which means it's like if you're in a classroom and you're bored and you're looking out the parking lot at the window at the parking lot, and you're thinking about being in the mountains or at the beach. The eyes can see the parking lot and the light coming into the brain from the light in the classroom. But it's not the brain that sees the beach or the mountains. It is you. You're not taught this growing up on earth, so why should it be familiar country to you? Familiar territory. And yet you all know how to do daydream. So I will begin to send out these tones to assist you from the one source energy. I'm a co-creator with it. You are too, whether you know it or not. And this will help you get that body on automatic, heart working, lung working, blood circulating. But you really shut the eyes and shut off the light coming to the brain. The brain is turned off at that point in that respect. And then you imagine. Here we go. Every night when you put your body to sleep, you activate the pineal gland to secrete serotonin and make melatonin. And this puts the body on automatic, keeps it working and functioning properly while you're gone. There's nobody home, snoring, nobody there. There's still a link to that pineal gland, to that brain, from wherever you go, even 100 million light years away. This is not a psychic link. It is a pure energy link of the pure energy that it comprises you, the void of space, the 0 point, the toroidal energy, the source, and it makes a link. When the hue crosses your path in any lifetime on any planet, understand that it was not created by any being or man, organization, religion, or government on Earth, nor was it created in our solar system, nor was it created in the galaxy, Andromeda, or any physical universe. It comes from a much higher reality, originates there. It is the first sound that brought all things into creation. And we are, as Atmas, made of this same energy. Always have been, always will be. So when I hue like this, it helps you put the physical body into the sleep state you put it in every night, but it also helps put to sleep forms and bodies you're running as a single Atma, spherical being, on a number of higher dimensional levels below the void: astral, causal, mental, and etheric. These are major divisions, higher dimensions, and there are a number of parallel dimensions in each one. And it allows these so-called higher parts of yourself to go to sleep so that you, the spherical being, the round whole Atma or soul, can go on one of these journeys beyond the body in a more conscious, safe, and serene manner. You just simply visualize yourself floating near the ceiling as a spherical energy being, looking down on your body, sitting in a chair with the eyes closed or lying down, being kind as you look upon this form you're running. You can see through the walls of your house wherever you are, whatever you're sitting down in or laying in, and you can see the countryside around you. You can imagine now with daydreaming, just daydream it, it's effortless, that you are at 10,000 feet in the atmosphere where you live, above where you live, looking down through the roof. You can see yourself still hovering as a sphere near the ceiling by that body. And yet you are also simultaneously hovering as a spherical being at 10,000 feet. And you can see everything around you. The light you're emitting actually makes it bright. It could be night on the side of the planet where you are, or daytime, but it'll be brighter around you. Imagine yourself in outer space. Just daydream it. And just visualize being in outer space, floating in that, well, if you look at time-lapse photography of the Hubble telescope of space, it appears black, devoid of light. But it isn't. When you're up here as the Atma, you can see it for what it is. A luminous white golden packed full of energy, field of light and sound that exists behind, beneath, above, and below everything that creates its own electromagnetic field and floats in it. So that void of space is not void at all. And the predominant nature of it is not nuclear. Finer than that. Yeah, there's dust particles and stars and planets and all that in it. But look at the distance between a galaxy like Milky Way and Andromeda Huge black area of space between them, right? And it appears black, but it isn't. So we're floating in this, up above and outside the Earth's atmosphere, looking down on this planet with its polar ice caps, beautiful oceans and land masses, and the barren moon covered in meteor craters, no oxygen atmosphere to speak of, very little gravity. And it's moving around the Earth without turning on its axis. And in the distance, you can see our yellow sun. That's right. As the Atma, you aren't made of time and space, and you can be out in space looking at this stuff while your body's asleep back on Earth, comfortably protected. I had to let a cat in to join this journey. He was very eager to get in here. Now I'm still in space talking with you through this physical body, which is also in the sleep state. I have learned how to do this, to have the body go to sleep and still use it as a vehicle to be of benefit to all of you as a kind of guide. In space, when you look at the Earth with its polar ice caps, we're far enough away from the planet, much further than the International Space Station, and you are floating in an energy field. All around you see a white golden light. It goes beyond this galaxy to others and upward through the dimensions. And it has a sound that sounds like comfortable, soft, but vibrant rolling thunder under your feet. What do I mean by feet here? It means you are a spherical being. And in front of you is what looks like a physical body that looks like yours. About 36, perfectly, flawlessly healthy, radiant, trim, vibrant. Doesn't matter if you're 14 on Earth or 80 on Earth. Here, this form is perfect. And it's made of energy and it looks like your physical body. This is what you produce to reveal yourself to others, to each other. But above this body that you're seeing is the spherical being, and you can see it above everyone else. We are in a circle. Perry and myself and other beings that have joined us on this journey, master teachers from other worlds, Ceres Ambassador Turellian, standing in the middle of a circle around which we all are in a circle as spherical beings. And he's showing you what his body used to look like over 1 billion years ago. The entire Ceres race evolved to the point where they could dematerialize the physical atoms, store the DNA pattern in a teardrop in one level of their spherical being, and then draw upon this one energy that surrounds us and manifest it instantly whenever they need it, for whatever purpose, should they need it at all. They are not burdened with having to drag a body around and feed it and excrete it all day long. We get our genomes for the kind of human beings we are on Earth from them originally. They were very advanced genetic scientists, among many other things. And they are aware of the higher planes and the source behind all life itself. They help develop the kinds of races that travel the stars, including all life that's on Earth, long ago, brought these different races that Atmas could run consciously at the time up to spacefaring capability, and then they vanished from creation to see what we would do with it. They have returned to this galaxy, and they've gone through a recent consciousness change themselves, so they're taking responsibility to help and get the unconscious Atmas running bodies on Earth awake, among other worlds as well. Turellian is showing you his body form that once existed, and it's about 36, 18 feet tall, giant humans compared to people on Earth. like a Greek god, slightly curvy blonde hair, big blue eyes, slightly pointed ears like an elf, and he's holding his two thumbs up with a white golden light around, a little brighter than the energy around us. What he's doing is simply holding an energy field, a spherical energy field around all of us in space that comes from an energy further up the dimensions so that we have a chance to bathe in it and, if we wish to, leap into it and understand more. This is something that's quite easy to do once you get the knack of it. Remember this, you all leave your body every night anyway. That you may not remember this or bring much back in the morning, except vague dreams or sometimes vivid dreams, only occurs because you were never trained in the first formative years of the subconscious mind developed for the brain and body in this lifetime, which happens in the first 6 years. And people on earth aren't trained in any of this, about any of this growing up. So they lack the ability to turn on higher faculties and properly correct the problems with the physical body on earth and utilize it as a device. It is not who we are. Hugh man, Hugh woman, Hugh child is not the human body. They got that all wrong on earth. That is the spherical being made in the image of the source itself, not the physical body. That alone, when people begin to grok or understand this on earth, will bring light and awareness and enlightenment into the world's religions, government people, classified people, and they'll begin to let go of their fear. It's a natural occurrence that begins to unfold in people once they cross paths with the Hugh. It provides a certain protection for individuals sincere about exploring it while they're living out a balanced life on earth. And utilizing it properly will make your outer life on earth more balanced along the way, not the other way around. So it's important for people to experience this for themselves. You can hear a sound coming off this white golden light that's out in space beyond Earth. And it has a light characteristic, a white golden light, but it sounds like kind of roaring thunder, not frightening, but a deep humming kind of thunderous sound. This is the omnipresent singular tone for the entire physical realities, and that comprises 144 parallel dimensions, time, space. There are interdimensional doorways that exist in creation between all these planes, so that a vibratory field of a higher energy can be conducted through concentric generators, little openings or worlds, into a slower time rate to keep alive and support a lower frequency of time-space. This is how this works. We don't create these doorways, they already exist. We can utilize them to get around. There are craft that can produce their own artificial doorways, but it's much more efficient to use what's already there if you know how to map them out, where they are, how to detect them. So we're in space around Turellian, and there's some other people appearing here now. They are not from Earth. They're considered to be master teachers. There's a couple appearing off to the left of Turellian, about 10 feet tall, and they have long silver hair. It almost looks like polished silver metal, but you know it's soft. And they have violet eyes, longer necks and fingers, longer arms and legs because they're 10 feet tall, and they move elegantly like swans as they take a few steps. And above them, you can see the spherical Atma. They really are running this form. They're showing their body form that they have as an existing physical body on a planet called Zeontarnamon 1, on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, on a world they're showing you like a hologram. It's 4 times larger than Earth, no polar ice caps, little land masses all over it and little oceans between them, and domed cities symmetrically placed on those land masses, quite large. And in each one is a four-sided, golden-sided, quartz-like capped pyramid. And you can see three moons at different distances, the size of Earth, with no polar ice caps, different colored land masses that circle this one big planet. And out in the distance, they're showing you this planetary system. This planet and its moons circles in the orbit around a trinary sun system. This means a blue-white giant, a yellow sun about medium size like our sun, and then red dwarf further out. One of the reasons there are no polar ice caps on these worlds. So they're showing you this in the void of space while we're all hovering around Tyrellian. And then you see a being named Opellum off to the right of Ambassador Tyrellian, about 6 feet tall, with jet black shiny hair down to his shoulders, emerald green eyes, pale blue skin. And he lifts his neck up and you can see three little gill slits here. Otherwise you wouldn't notice them. And he opens his hand and you can see a little web between them. Otherwise he appears completely human. Slightly grayed temples, about 40. He's quite ancient. He's a master teacher, and he lives and has this body unaged on a world called Oceania, and it exists on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy away from where Earth is, in one of the 7 spiral arms, and it's mostly water covered. It's bigger than Earth, and near the equator there are a few small islands with domed cities on it, with pyramids in them, just like the ones on Zeolite 1. And they have transportation tubes that go from the base of those domes through the jungle down into the ocean, and then they connect with dome cities at the bottom of the Oceanian Ocean. They are considered to have one of the most developed crystal-based sciences in the universe. They are also masters of genetics, as are the Zeolite people and the Sayrays. They are humanoid races. The Zeolite, Opellum's Oceanian race, get their genomes from the Sayrays originally. The Sayrays did not evolve to this tall human form on Earth, in our galaxy, in Andromeda, or anywhere near here. Human beings did not originally evolve in our galaxy either. They were brought here. It's a very ancient race. Just because people on Earth are told they only use 6 to 10% of a fully 100% developed brain for various reasons, does not mean that those body forms are not most ancient in billions of years. Earth is destined to have full disclosure occur. There are people in control now in politics in the highest level of classification that have been made known this in no uncertain terms by advanced races among the stars. We either tell the truth to each other or life on Earth ends. It's that simple. They have prevented us from annihilating ourselves in nuclear war already a number of times. So they're giving us the opportunity to step up to bat. They are providing the means and the way for certain leaders on Earth to carry out disclosure without rioting in the streets. It's the only way it can be done properly. As I'm viewing, Ambassador Tyrellian points out in space away from Earth. And it's like each one of us have telescopic telephoto lenses for eyes. We are looking at where he's pointing from the white core of our being. Each being has a structure. Each Atma or soul has a structure to the energy that comprises what they are. It has a white core and a kind of a thick layer of teardrop-shaped self-effulgent lights that are higher faculties around this white core. And then another one a little further out that covers the spectrum from white to yellow to orange to red to green to blue to violet, lavender, a golden exterior around it, across the spectrum of light that's known as the color of the spectrum of light. And each layer has these little teardrop faculties. These are higher faculties of being associated with each division or dimension. In each Atma or being running a physical body on Earth is the inherent knowledge of how to plug into that one energy and circumnavigate the multiverse. It's already there. In people on Earth who don't remember who they are, how they got to be on Earth, this has to be recovered, awakened, stimulated back to the conscious awareness. What we're doing now is part of that process and helps to ground this energy to the Earth so that it can make this transition without self-destruction. Where Ambassador Trellian is pointing, we suddenly find ourselves in a circle around him, zooming at far greater than the speed of light. You see energy move by us, and then suddenly we stop. And we are looking down on the rings of the planet Saturn in our solar system. And you realize when you look at them, they are made up of big, huge chunks of ice, water, H2O. We know that's what they're made of now, scientists on Earth. How does a whole ring system of water get above a gas giant? Quite a mystery, isn't it? And when you look down, you can see a long cylindrical spaceship underneath the surface layer of ice, which is about 1.5 miles thick. It's quite thin. And it's 1 mile long, slightly flattened on top, a blue-gray metal. There's a blue slight glow around the hull, an antigravitic light, which floats it there stationary in space in between these chunks of ice, which also protects it from chunks of ice hitting it. There is a curved bridge window on one end, and you look at the other side of this, you can see there's an identical bridge on the other end of this mile-long craft. It is from what's called the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, an organization of world systems, more than 450 million of them, that stretch across 144 parallel dimensions of the physical universe. The ship is permanently stationed where it is now to protect our solar system and planet Earth from the incursion of tyrant races from the stars. Those that were operating on Earth have been removed and sent back. Not by our military, not by us. You can see several scout craft about 30 feet in diameter moving through the ice rings with blue antigravitic light around their hulls, silver blue, kind of a gray metal, 3 semi-spheric pods on the bottom half of the ship. And they're starting to become transparent as they near the central section of this mile-long vessel. And then they pass right through the metal hull. You can see a halo of light through the metal hull. And as it goes down into this huge football field-sized hangar bay, it becomes solid again and lands next to other craft. There are no open launch bays in this type of craft. They've utilized the electrogravitic field around the craft's hull to raise its molecular time rate up enough so that it can pass through the molecules that make up the physical matter of that spaceship. It's called an Emerald Star Cruiser. It's 1 mile long. There are some 10 miles long. This is to protect this solar system from having abductions and other types of tyrant races coming back here, breaking a treaty to do it, and they were caught. But it's also protect the rest of the universe from us, which means our solar system is quarantined. There's an energy field around it that does not and will not allow us to travel beyond the stars the way we are on this planet. We don't have one government. Nobody gets along. Religions don't get along. And we're expected to take a competitive nature between Russia and China and the United States and fight for the spoils of outer space. That is never going to take place because Earth and its planetary system are quarantined by more advanced races that are not going to let us play with them until we can respect and appreciate what's out there. When you look down on this mile-long craft, you can see more detail. And there are vertical, actually horizontal, 6 foot wide by 3 foot high, oval, curved, blue glass, transparent windows that surround just the upper edge of the circumference of the hull around the entire craft. They're observation portals. Terrellian now and all of us circling around him are moving as like a planet with moons around it or a galaxy with other stars around it, down in towards the central section of this craft and a little bit towards the front bridge, about a third of the way. And we're going to pass right through the hull, not as a spaceship does, but as Atmas. And you find yourself suddenly in a huge chamber, 60 foot high and several hundred feet long. And there's a plush blue carpet and little round glass top tables with egg-shaped white chairs with blue cushions. Terrellian is standing in this physical form he shows us that looks purely physical, human, about 18 foot tall, with his 2 thumbs up, smiling. And then all of you find yourself looking down at your feet, wiggling in plush blue carpet. And you smile. And you look up and see the spherical you hovering above you, looking down on you. So you are presenting what you look like as a perfect form, about 36, to 300 of the ship's personnel that have come to greet us. And they have snake-like skin, ivory skin, blue skin, long earlobes, bald, some with long curly hair, long blonde hair, brunette hair, different skin textures and types, short and tall, from many world systems, men and women, male and female. And there's a couple getting up from a table nearby, standing. They're a little over 6 feet tall, and they're Caucasian. They're from a planetary system beyond what's known as the Pleiades. And there are thousands of stars back beyond those 7 that are visible with the naked eye on Earth. And they are the co-commanders of this one ship. They have their hand over their heart, and they're nodding to all of us. They can see you, this physical form you show them, and the Atma hovering above it. And when you look at this commander and his wife, you can see a spherical being hovering above each of them, the real them. These beings, every one of them, are telepathic in nature, so you can hear them speak to you. A male and female couple from the Galactic Alliance personnel will walk up to each one of you and raise a hand like this. All you got to do is do it in return. And this is giving them permission to assist you to remember, with their assistance, what you once knew about life beyond Earth long ago. They are eager to have people from Earth recover who they are, because these are long-lost relatives and friends of theirs that disappeared during and at the end of a great galactic war 500,000 years ago. They're all trained in being able to assist all of you to have what are called secondary implant negative programs removed, neutralized. And underneath that then surfaces higher faculties of awareness. More of the brain cells begin to turn on. You're able to utilize more intelligence. Now this is in the Atma and in the physical form that's perfect. You're showing them. But you can see a little beam of golden white light shooting out into space right through the hull of the ship, going down into the Earth's atmosphere, right in through the spherical you hovering near the ceiling, and down into the pineal gland of the brain that is and body that's asleep. And it moves through the brain in a widening golden white light and expands until it's about 2 miles wide. Sets a perimeter and then continues on into the world. And it does this for the benefit of others. Just observe one of these couples, these alien couples, come up to you kindly and then listen to what they have to say to each one of you. If you ask them to assist you to be free of this unconscious amnesia you're living on Earth, they will help you every night when you're out of your body until you can recover what you were made to forget long ago without your consent. You are out in your own solar system, standing inside a mile-long galactic emerald star cruiser with its personnel. These beings know how to leave their body at will. On their world systems, they grow up with this. They do not have subconscious minds. They have the technology to eliminate such things. The tight knot of subconscious fear that's woven into people on Earth has to be unraveled gradually, carefully, so that your life on Earth can become ever more serene as the process continues. Place a hand over your heart, slightly nod your head. They're going to do the same to you. And you're going to find yourselves up in space, above the rings of the planet Saturn, looking at this mile-long ship again. And several more of these scout craft, 30 foot wide, are entering the hull in the same manner described previously. Now you suddenly find yourself traveling down under the oceans around Tyrellian as spherical beings on Earth. We're moving down to the deepest places of the oceans on Earth, and you start to see something very bright, luminous on the ocean floor. And it is a four-sided, looks like metal, it's glowing, has a parent quartz crown to it. It's bigger than the big pyramid in Egypt, and it's sending out donut-shaped pulse waves of energy waves of white golden light. And suddenly you find yourself on the other side of the world at the bottom of that deepest ocean, seeing another identical one. Then you find ourselves surrounding Tyrellian inside a huge hollowed-out interior of a mountain in the Himalayas, and there's a third one floating there in the center of it. And we're going to go into this mountain in the Himalayas. We're inside it. We're going to go inside that pyramid. So you're going to find yourself moving right through one of the sides of this pyramid. It's bigger than the big Egyptian pyramid. And inside you find it hollowed out. And there's a white, golden white kind of floor. It looks like quartz that's luminous at the base. And in the center of it is a white alabaster scallop type fountain 15 feet across on a cylindrical shaft of stone on a square base. And standing in the middle of this fountain is a being named Sat Nam. It means true name, first sound, first manifestation of any form you'll see from the source. And it's a statue, a device. This being is standing with bare feet, with his hands open, with his palms open, down at his sides, radiating a white golden light from the palms. It's filling this bowl in a luminous white golden light that pours over the edges in an even sheet and vanishes through the base into this coarse platform floor, quartz-like anyway. And it has a sound coming off of it that sounds like millions of men and women's voices with perfect vocal cords singing hoo, 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 all these levels. And you can hear a hauntingly beautiful melody that sounds like this. Hugh, 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 Hugh. This is just a way that the tones from the different planes are brought down into the focal point in this fountain. When you look up above the head of this being, he's bronzed of skin, bare-chested, a white tunic dress from his waist down to his bare ankles, squared-off hands, strong, virile, bare-chested, strong, 2 golden bracelets on each of his upper arms, bald head, golden eyes. And so this energy field is coming through this device, through the walls of this pyramid, which is operating a slightly higher parallel dimension of the physical universe. And even though certain classified people on Earth detected it, they can't affect it in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. They've tried. This energy comes from much higher realities. There is an identical pyramid like this in the central lower section of the Emerald Star Cruiser back in the ice rings of Saturn. And it's connected to these 3 pyramids on Earth. And they're connected to a pyramid floating stationary between 2 stable asteroids in the asteroid field that circles in the orbit of a planet around the sun between Mars and Jupiter. It's in our solar system. It is quite much larger than the ones on Earth. There's the same fountain in the center, and it's pulsing out energy. And you look above, suddenly we find ourselves hovering above the entire Milky Way galaxy, looking down on it. And you can see Earth down in one of the 7 spiral arms of the galaxy, like you have a telephoto lens for eyes. And then you begin to focus down onto the stars in our galaxy. And you see that there are now these giant pyramids stationed equidistant between each star in our galaxy. And energy is being beamed upward into the void of space, and it vanishes on its way back to the source. You are hovering now above your body near the ceiling back on Earth, smiling kindly on it. You can hear the sound of the hue in the background. You can see a little white golden thread of light emanating from the sphere you are, the white core, down into the center of the brain through the pineal gland, where it widens through the brain and extends itself in a sphere, very comfortable, very gentle, very loving, very kind, very safe. And it expands to about 2 miles across and then continues on out into the world and out into space in a never-ending flow of this one power, this one living energy behind all creation. You are endeavoring now, if you are wise, to see to it that the memory of this journey is placed within what's called the toroidal energy field that surrounds your physical body. It's really surrounding you as an Atma near the ceiling. It's like the gravitational fields of Earth comes out the top, goes around and comes back up in the bottom. There's also a field like this around your physical body. And you're storing the awareness of this journey in that energy that was never there before. And your brain in the center of your skull, you can transfer the awareness of this, or you can look into the awareness of this when you wake that body up. So when you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you very much, Scott, for journey. I've learned a lot again.
Well, we go different ways. We've been to these places before, but we always do something a little different each time to expand the ability of people to trust their own ability to see into the universe, to imagine where they want to go and what they want to do. Because if they don't do it, they won't know. So I want to leave you with that, Perry, and thank you for having the courage to do these ongoing little radio shows we do. And I'll get this recording over to you so you can put it up on your YouTube channel, and it can be of benefit to other people on Earth. It's designed for all the people of Earth. I don't care if they're classified, I don't care what race or religion. It's meant to be for their uplifting benefit, none excluded.
And for those who want to visit your website, you can click under the link under this video.
I'll have the 4 websites there. So when you put it up there, they can just click on it and go right there and find the books, particularly the Savior's Agenda and the Emerald Doorway, because they're going to need these. This book, you can see this ship I described in this journey, the shape of the scout craft, the ice rings of the planet Saturn. This book is about what's happening out in space that nobody saw coming, that's changed things out there. And Earth is next. There's a technique section in the back of this book, one technique for the prologue and each of the 29 chapters that deal with what we're doing. So you can work with that and be benefited. Read the story about how Mark Sanfield and Janice Carter recovered their awareness on Earth when they didn't know anything. And then just identify with yourself with them. You'll gain a lot. The other book that's out there and published through my publishing company is called The Emerald Doorway. It's book 1 of the Parallel Time trilogy of 3 written books. This is the first published one. And you can see on the cover 3 human beings, one with blue skin, a female, this Caucasian in a blue suit, a kind of a space suit, well, a kind of a pullover garment that they use. This master teacher named Ramu carries a golden staff about 6 feet tall with a symbol of what in Earth ancient Egypt history became the Ankh, crossed with a vertical oval hole in the center of it, and it's glowing with golden light. It's a device he uses. They are standing on anti-gravitic discs. You can see little blue light around them. This is his ship up here, stationary. And this is the ancient one. This is also what the source behind all life looks like. And this master teacher is teaching these 3 beings. And this little being named Etta, who is not human, he's silica-based, from the planet Oceania, where that blue-skinned master teacher was I introduced you all to when we got out in space. This is his daughter back then. This little guy's name is Etta. Fiery and feisty, comical, would die for you to protect you if you befriended him. He has photographic memory, vocal cords, and can, in his world, would evolved in emptied out volcanic chutes or caverns at the bottom of the Oceanian Ocean. They have a symbiotic relationship with her race. And this little guy in his race developed the ability to levitate and fly through the air when their tail, from the root to the tip, grows like crystal opal in bright sunlight. And I should probably even take the time, why not, to show you what he looks like, if I can find him quickly enough, wherever the heck he is here. Where are
Take your
you, Ed?
time.
I think you guys would like to see him in a better image of him.
And
There he
also
is.
see the image in your website too, right, Scott?
Yeah, but there's Etta, cute little guy. See if we can get that to come into focus. Big bulbous blue eyes, dexterous hands and feet like a human, but he can run on all fours or levitate and fly through the air. He's got nostrils, a little diaphragm in his nose, and in his mouth for flying at great speed through the atmosphere. And this guy is a master teacher, but he is not human. There are over 30 well-defined illustrations in this book, which is most unusual for any published book on Earth, that depict characters and certain scenes from this story. There's a glossary of character and terms in the back of both books so you can become familiar with extraterrestrial terminology, and there's 2 more yet to be published. So those 2 are available, and you can find the links to get them at Amazon or iBooks or Barnes & Noble, or they're all there at the paralleltime.com website. You don't have to hunt for them. I don't sell any of the thing at the websites. I have contracts with Amazon and iBooks and all of this around the world, and Ingram Spark to get books in bookstores, because if they didn't have print-on-demand facilities around the world, no one could practically get these books because the expense of shipping them is just too great. So this is a necessity. I would recommend people get the books and go on the journey, because they're not some kind of entertainment. They are entertaining, but they are designed to be kind of stimulating open doors within your own consciousness to surface. Best way of putting it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the books are like doorways, to go to upper world to get the experience, that I would say too.
Some of what we do on these journeys is not in those books. Because they are a bridge to what we're doing now. So I want to leave all of you with that, and thank you again, Perry, for doing this. And
Thank you
I
to
will
you
say
too, Scott.
pleasant dreams, because when you bring back awareness, as you call a dream in the morning, if you endeavor to set up your consciousness right at night before you go to bed to be uplifting and constructive, not based in fear, go into the hue until you feel good inside, then go to sleep. That way, when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be bringing back some startling new things over time. So I will wish you all the very best and say, see you later.
Yes, thank you everyone for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and share to others to benefit all life. Thank you. See you
See you.
next time.